This is Big Podcast.
It's Build a Big Podcast, the marketing podcast for podcasters. I'm David Hooper, and this episode is about how to have impact as a podcast host, as an influencer, as somebody in society. And I want to talk about Bob Barker, longtime host of The Price is Right. He just died, 99 years old. He had a long career in television, started in radio. And for somebody my age, 50 years old, Gen X, I'm amazed to look at the stories and find out that I wasn't the only one that when I had a sick day from school or during the summer, you would see him and you associated that with sick days. Yeah, I'm going to stay home. I'm watching The Price is Right. Because for one, we only had 3 channels. And secondly, Bob Barker was on every day for years and years and years. And we know him from the games that he would play. Rob Roddy would say, "Come on down." People would run down to the front of the stage. They'd want to kiss Bob. You know, the whole bit. We all know that. But the other thing we think about when we think about Bob Barker was how he would close every episode. He would say, "This is Bob Barker, reminding you to help control the pet population. Have your pets spayed and neutered." They say, "Bob Barker's wardrobe, provided by Botany 500. He started that in 1982. He'd been on the show for a while, but he started doing that, just one sentence. And after years and years and years and years of doing that, it's had a huge impact. He arguably, by saying this one line on every episode, has saved millions of animal lives, meaning he kept them from being created. Therefore, he kept them from being put down. He was given a Lifetime Achievement Award, the 26th Annual Daytime Emmy Awards. That was in 1999. Closed his speech the same way. It's kind of a joke, right? Have your pets spayed or neutered. But it also was a very important message. And it's because of people like him having that conversation that your dog, your cat, unless you're breeding it, probably has been spayed or neutered. When Bob Barker retired, Drew Carey took over, he started saying it. By the way, that wasn't the only thing he did for animal rights. In 1987, he requested the removal of fur prizes for the Miss USA pageant and stepped down as the host when the producers refused. Radio host Casey Kasem, he did something similar. He was vegan. Not over the top about it. I don't think he ever mentioned it. Casey Kasem, if you didn't know, he was the voice of Shaggy on Scooby-Doo, another Gen X classic. And every Gen Xer, we know what Shaggy and Scooby ate. Scooby snacks, obviously, but also hamburgers. Lots of them. So fast forward to 2002. There's a Scooby-Doo movie. They want to bring Casey Kasem back as the voice of Shaggy. He said, "Nope, not going to do that. Not unless you make Shaggy vegetarian." So that's why in that movie, Shaggy's eating fruit. He's a vegetarian. Like Bob Barker, Casey did these things all the time. You would never know it because he didn't make a big deal about it. But let me give you one more example. He turned down a national contract. This was to be the voice of Kellogg's. What does Kellogg's make? Cereal. What do you eat cereal with? Milk. Again, he's vegan. Didn't believe in it. He didn't like factory farming, didn't like killing animals. He said, "No, I'm not going to do that." I bring these stories up because you, as a host, even if it's just a podcast host, you can do something similar. I'll give you an example. I've got a similar policy on meat. I'm also vegetarian, no meat. At a hamburger place in Nashville, they were working with the station where I produce my syndicated radio show. They knew of the show. They came to me. They said, "We'd like you to voice an ad for the restaurant. It's called Cheeseburger Charlie's." And I did, but for their black bean burgers. I said, "I'm not going to talk about your burgers, dude. I don't eat meat. I can talk about your black bean burgers." And they said, "Okay, that's fine." No issue, by the way. I didn't make a big deal out of it, neither did they. Actually, it ended up being a better ad. I said, "Hi, this is David Hooper from Music Business Radio. And if you're like me, a vegetarian who hates salads, you're going to love the Cheeseburger Charlie black bean burger." So, it wasn't just like, "Hey, I like hamburgers. Go to Cheeseburger Charlie's." No, it told a story. And this is my point, is that no matter where you are in your career, who you are, you've always got an opportunity to do something like this, something that matches your values. And this is something that you can start now. You can do something simple like a sign-off. Maybe it's making choices about the guests that you bring on your podcast. It can be on your level. And there's probably some modification that will let you work within the existing system, within the certain sponsors that might come to you, just like I did with the black bean burger. Here's the final thought. Think about Bob Barker ending those episodes. This is Bob Barker reminding you to help control the pet population. Have your pet spayed or neutered. One sentence can have a lot of impact. And the impact that you make with your podcast, it can go well beyond the topic that you discuss. Nobody watched The Price is Right to think about animal population control. They watched it for entertainment. And that message about animals just kind of snuck up on you. So think about that. Maybe you're already thinking about it. If you are, I want to know about it. What are you doing to share your message? Maybe not the main message of your podcast, but your message with your podcast audience. What are you doing to make lives better? What philosophy are you sharing? Reach out to me. I'm on all the social media networks. You can find me at bigpodcast.com. I've got a newsletter. I've got this podcast. If you want it, I got it all there for you. bigpodcast.com. Thank you so much for listening to Build a Big Podcast. If you do want to go ahead and subscribe, young kids call it follow. It'll make sure that you never miss an episode. You can do that at bigpodcast.com/subscribe. 3 buttons for you, one for iPhone, one for Android, one's a good old-fashioned RSS feed. Got a QR code that you can scan. Any of these options are going to make sure that you never miss an episode. bigpodcast.com/subscribe. Go there now before you forget, and I'll see you on the next episode of Build a Big Podcast.